have two questions to ask you guys. On the raise of hand, how many of you guys love traveling? The next question is, how many of you guys think that traveling is expensive? I'm Chip. As you guys know, I love traveling and I'm here to show you guys to pick up some tips on how to travel on a budget. So before we dive into the ways that you can travel in an inexpensive way, we might want to know um, the factors that make travel so expensive. And through research and based on my experience and based on Origami Life website, I put us up 5 reasons. The first reason is you might be traveling when everyone is traveling, and you might be in a touristy place. So, by the law of supply and demand, the business will take advantage of it and they will raise the price at a very cutthroat um, level. Uh, so, I will talk more about that in later slide. On the second one, um, it is book things impulsively, spontaneously. You think that you know what to book or where to book or what's the usual price of the service, and all of that is wrong. And so by the end of the trip, when you see the cost of your the cost of what you're spending, you might eventually faint. And the third one is you might be planning a trip that is too overload, and that might make you feel very overwhelmed and urge you to spend money and forget what is your budget is. Um, and maybe you want to spend it all because you have such a short of time of traveling. The fourth one is choosing accommodation. There are like times when you choose over a hotel room, over a vacation rental, even though the vacation rental is way cheaper and sometimes it's way better. It has better amenities or service, but you still uh, try to book the hotel instead. And the fifth one is when you travel with other people. You cannot expect to have your own budget if you travel with a person that likes to travel like a luxury life. So that is the 5 reasons. And to continue, here's are the 5 ways to travel on a budget. The first one is make your own budget. You have to know how much money do you have and what's the allowance for that trip in order to really save it all. So on this slide, you can see that there is an example of a travel budget. And according to Travel Made Simple, your budget has to have, your travel budget plan has to have accommodations, so hotels or vacation rentals, transportation such as airfare, public transportation, or trains like in Europe if applicable, food and activities. The next one is pick right place in the right season. As I mentioned before, if you go to a very high season or a very touristy place, you might have a problem of spending too much money. And so one of the ways is figure out the right seasons and the right destination by this extraordinary search engine called Google. So here's an example. So in this picture, it said based on Trip Savvy is the Iceland weather by season: spring, summer, fall, winter. As you can see, in spring is cheaper flight and accommodation. Fall is crowds begins to go away, and winter has wind and snow, temperature moderate by my Gulf Stream air, but it might have some beautiful landscape during that season. However, in summer, it's mid-sun, cool air lingers, height of tourist season. So, based on what I told you, what season would you choose? Probably around spring or fall. Maybe winter if you like the cold. And so another thing is choose destination which U.S. dollar is strong. If you have, if your the U.S. Dollars is strong, and the exchange rate is so nice in those country, you might be able to save a lot of money. Um, so I was able to pull up two destinations where the U.S. dollar is high based on smarter travel. So it's Vietnam and Mexico. So if you guys are interested, intended to travel, maybe take that as a consideration. So choose the third one is choose the appropriate booking website. Sometimes you might not know where to book the best price flight ticket or any transportation or accommodation. Um, and so you would waste your money for nothing. And so based on my uh, experience, I have pulled up some website and or companies that would help you plan your trip better. So flights. I usually use Skyscanner because it gives you a lot of options from other websites. So it always gives you the cheapest one, and you can always see that during the month what is the like average uh, price of the season. And for Hopper, maybe a lot of you don't know, or maybe yes, I do not know. But Hopper is cool because if you try to book a flight in advance, and um, you can always track the price of the flights, and when the price drop down, Hopper, that rabbit, will notify you that oh the flight is dropped down by something money, and so you can book at the cheapest price. And for accommodation, everybody knows what is Airbnb, and so Airbnb is so great because it is a vacation rental or it's an apartment, and I think it's cheaper than hotels and everything, but they have better amenities and maybe service too. You always can speak to the host to guide you around, and I remember that I could rent a like 5 bedroom house for only $200, while that's a normal room rate at a hotel if you're in downtown. And the second one is Hotel Tonight. I'm a person that's road trip a lot, and Hotel Tonight really helps me with that. So Hotel Tonight means that you try to find a place to sleep for the night, and when you pull this up, it will give you the lowest price uh, as it can get, because it is trying to sell out the last room, so that's why it is so cheap, and you will never be afraid that you won't have a place to stay. It's not spontaneous at all, but because like Hotel Tonight made sure of that, so it's very trustworthy. The fourth one is just plan your trip wisely. Just made plans and come up with like clear dates or hours or destination where you want to go. I use road trippers a lot. As you can see, I road trip a lot. So what road trippers do is it marks you what day, um, what destination are you going to go on which day, and it usually have a map that you can like interact with like Google Maps, but it kind of rates the destination also right there, so that's nice. Tripit is kind of like a time management website. You can always go and then find destination, plan it, and put it into a timeline that it's best for you. Yeah. And the last one is find alternate ways to travel. You don't have to go like on an airplane uh, to go travel. Um, as I can say, study abroad is a very good option because when you go to travel abroad, it's kind of like a package. You go study, you go travel, you meet friends, you learn new language, and the school actually pay for you, so it's kind of like nice. And for road tripping is the best for me because I can just like hop on the car and just worry about the gas station, and like while on the road I can always see the landscape and stop whenever I want. So that's just the best way for me. So to wrap up, I just want to re-mention all my ways to get around traveling on budget. First is like to be aware of tourist season or touristy place. Know what's the budget, your budget of the trip. Plan your trip in details. Use sites that will help you money on bookings, and consider other travel options. So thank you and bon voyage.